It happens every time it rains. Impervious roadway surfaces that flood or dump water too quickly into streams. 9 years ago, New Jersey adopted regulations aimed at protecting water quality and reducing flooding. The stormwater regulations called for towns to adopt practices that allow rain and snow to seep into the ground.
And finding a way to work with the land so that you maintain the hydrologic response after development that exists before development. And by that I mean looking at a site and saying, wow, we have a lot of trees in this area. Let's leave the trees and let's put the development over here where we have a cornfield.
A study conducted 3 years ago by the Delaware Riverkeeper Network examined how well one Garden State community, Hamilton Township, was following these regulations. The town received failing grades, as did New Jersey environmental officials who did a poor job of monitoring compliance with the regulations.
All of the pollutants that are on the landscape get washed off by that rainwater into local storm drains, into detention basins, both of which go into pipes and get directly dumped into the local creek. So that degrades the quality of the water in Hamilton Township and for everybody who lives downstream, and ultimately the quality of Delaware River water.
Experts point to this retention basin near a housing development. The idea is for the rainwater to be slowly released back into the ground, but that's not what's happening.
When the groundwater level gets higher, it enters into this basin and infiltration will not occur. We also don't know if there's a permeability issue with this basin, but in any event, soil borings needed to be done to document that this basin would function the way it was supposed to function, which is that the water infiltrates down. The township approved the plan without making an issue of the fact that soil test pits or soil borings were not done in the area of the basin.
The basin is now a source of mosquitoes and unwanted odors in this neighborhood. Other problems: homes built too close to creeks, streams with little aquatic life because the waterways are subject to sudden flow increases from runoff, and local streams that have been hardened with concrete channels, a move that destroys habitat and causes flooding downstream.
Having concrete lined channels that are intended to just direct water out of town as quickly as possible is an extremely bad practice. That's sort of a dinosaur development practice that we don't just expect not to see in New Jersey because of their 2006 stormwater rules, but because the technology is so far beyond these kinds of cement-lined channels.
Whenever you deplete our groundwater, you're depleting base flows to the stream. You can get flashy streams that do not have the water quality benefits of being a healthy stream because you've depleted their base flows. And those base flows are getting shunted into a storm sewer system, and it's changing the way the water behaved.
In 3 years, the Delaware Riverkeeper Network says things haven't improved in Hamilton Township. The group says plans for a project on this parcel should have been rejected because of the stormwater plan.
It's a problem because it doesn't meet New Jersey stormwater rules, but the township knows it because we have sent experts in, the community has gone in and said directly to the township that this development project fails to meet the rules and requirements of the state of New Jersey and should not be approved. And despite that advanced information, despite that heightened knowledge, the township continues to move that project forward using old development practices and stormwater practices that simply don't belong.
This project got its final approval. I actually reviewed the project afterwards and found that not only should it not have gotten final approval, but that it needed some other agency approvals, such as DEP approvals, that it now is not required to get based on the Hamilton Township approval.
The Delaware Riverkeeper Network says the problem is not unique to Hamilton Township. Other communities in New Jersey also fail to comply.
We continue to find that New Jersey's stormwater rules are getting short shrift when it comes to the approval process, and that townships are continuing to approve project after project that fails to meet New Jersey's stormwater rules, both when it comes to quality of runoff and when it comes to quantity of runoff.
The problem that I see is that every piece of the rule is just not implemented. And I see that throughout the state where maybe there are 4 different large requirements, and I'll see towns where they'll implement maybe 3 and think, well, that's close enough.
New Jersey's stormwater management rules are given good grades by environmentalists, but those regulations will be subject to review and changes next year.
We can do much better at avoiding runoff, at cleansing pollution out of runoff, and at infiltrating runoff before it becomes a flooding and pollution problem.